Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Story Time with Og. That's me. I'm Og. In today's video, we're going to be reading 3 books. That's right, 3 books. Have you ever heard of Beatrix Potter? She wrote a bunch of books that had to do with stories about mice. So today, we're going to be reading 3 of those stories. The first one is called The Tale of Johnny Townmouse. And the second one, The Tale of Mrs. Tittlemouse. Oh, that's cute. And the third one is The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. Oh, the Flopsy Bunnies. So, these should be very cute books to read, especially if you're getting ready to go to sleep. So we can read these 3 books and then you can go fast to sleep. Okay? And tomorrow night you can watch this video again and watch them all over again and then go to sleep. All right, let's read them together, okay? Okay, the first book is called The Tale of Johnny Townmouse, written by Beatrix Potter and illustrated by Wendy Rasmussen. I like that name, Rasmussen. Have you ever read these before? I don't think I have. All right, here we go. Johnny Townmouse was born in a cupboard. Timmy Willie was born in a garden. Timmy Willie was a little country mouse who went to town by mistake in a hamper. The gardener sent vegetables to town once a week by carrier. He packed them in a big wicker basket. The gardener left the basket by the garden gate so that the carrier would pick it up when he passed. Timmy Willie crept in through a hole in the bucket, and after eating some peas, Timmy Willie fell fast asleep. He awoke in a fright while the basket was being lifted into the carrier's cart. Then there was a jolting and a clattering of horses' feet. Other packages were thrown in. For miles and miles, jolt, jolt, jolt. And Timmy Willie trembled among the jumbled up vegetables. At last the cart stopped at a house where the basket was taken out, carried in, and set down. The cook gave the carrier a coin. The back door banged and the cart rumbled away, but there was no quiet. There seemed to be hundreds of carts passing. Dogs barked, boys whistled in the street, the cook laughed, the parlor maid ran up and down stairs, and a canary sang like a steam engine. Timmy Willie, who had lived all his life in a garden, was almost frightened to death. Presently, the cook opened the basket and began to unpack the vegetables. Out sprang the terrified Timmy Willie. Up jumped the cook on a chair, exclaiming, "A mouse! A mouse! Call the cat! Fetch me the poker, Sarah!" Timmy Willie did not wait for Sarah with the poker. He rushed along the baseboard till he came to a little hole, and in he popped. He dropped half a foot and crashed into the middle of a mouse dinner party, breaking 3 glasses. "Who in the world is this?" inquired Johnny Townmouse. But after the first exclamation of surprise, he instantly recovered his manners. With the greatest politeness, he introduced Timmy Willie to 9 other mice, all with long tails and white neckties. Timmy Willie's own tail was insignificant. Johnny Town Mouse and his friends noticed it, but they were too polite to make personal remarks. Only one of them asked Timmy Willie if he had ever been in a trap. The dinner was of 8 courses, not much of anything, but truly elegant. All the dishes were unknown to Timmy Willie, who would have been a little afraid of tasting them. Only he was very hungry and very anxious to behave with company manners. The continual noise upstairs made him so nervous that he dropped a plate. "Never mind, they don't belong to us," said Johnny. Why don't those youngsters come back with the dessert?" It should be explained that 2 young mice who were waiting on the others went scouting around upstairs to the kitchen between courses. Several times they had come tumbling in, squeaking and laughing. Timmy Willie learned with horror that they were being chased by the cat. His appetite failed. He felt faint. "Oh, try some jelly," said Johnny Town Mouse. "No? Would you rather go to bed? I will show you a most comfortable sofa pillow." The sofa pillow had a hole in it. Johnny Town Mouse quite honestly recommended it as the best bed, kept exclusively for visitors, but the sofa smelled of cat. Timmy Willie preferred to spend a miserable night under the railing. It was just the same the next day. An excellent breakfast was provided for mice accustomed to eating bacon, but Timmy Willie had been raised on roots and salad. Johnny Town Mouse and his friends noisily raced about under the floors and came boldly out all over the house in the evening. One particularly loud crash had been caused by Sarah tumbling down the stairs with the tea tray. There were crumbs and sugar and smears of jam to be collected, in spite of the cat. Timmy Willie longed to be at home in his peaceful nest in a sunny bank. The food disagreed with him. The noise prevented him from sleeping. In a few days he grew so thin that Johnny Town Mouse noticed it and questioned him. He listened to Timmy Willie's story and inquired about the garden. "It sounds rather a dull place. What do you do when it rains?" "When it rains, I sit in my little sandy burrow and shell corn and seeds from my autumn store. I peep out at the songbirds and blackbirds on the lawn and my friend Cock Robin. And when the sun comes out again, you should see my garden and the flowers and roses and pinks and pansies. No noise except the birds and bees and the lambs in the meadows." "There goes that cat again," exclaimed Johnny Town Mouse. When they had taken refuge in the coal cellar, he resumed the conversation. "I confess I am a little disappointed. We have tried to entertain you, Timothy William." "Oh, yes, yes, you have been most kind, but I do feel so ill," said Timmy Willie. "It may be that your teeth and digestion are unaccustomed to our food. Perhaps it might be wiser for you to return in the basket." "Oh? Oh!" cried Timmy Willie. "Why, of course, For the matter of that, we could have sent you back last week, said Johnny rather huffily. Did you not know that the basket goes back empty on Saturdays? So Timmy Willie said goodbye to his new friends and hid in the basket with a crumb of cake and a withered cabbage leaf, and after much jolting, he was set down safely in his own garden. Sometimes on Saturdays he went to look at the basket lying by the gate, but he knew better than to get in again, and nobody got out, though Johnny Town Mouse had half promised a visit. The winter passed, the sun came out again. Timmy Willie sat by his burrow warming his little fur coat and sniffing the smell of violets and spring grass. He had nearly forgotten his visit to town. When up the sandy path, all fresh and clean, with a brown leather bag, came Johnny Town Mouse. Timmy Willie received him with open arms. You have come at the best of all the year. We will have herb pudding and sit in the sun. It is a little damp, said Johnny Town Mouse, who was carrying his tail under his arm out of the mud. What is that fearful noise? He started violently. Oh, that, said Timmy Willie, that is only a cow. I will beg a little milk. They are quite harmless unless they happen to lie down upon you. How are all our friends? Johnny's account was rather lackluster. He explained why he was paying his visit so early in the season. The family had gone to the seaside for Easter. The cook was doing spring cleaning on board wages. Excuse me. Had to take a drink. Excuse me. Well, where was I? Yes. With particular instructions to clear out the mice. There were 4 kittens, and the cat had killed the canary. Oh, no. They say we did it, but I know better, said Johnny Town Mouse. Whatever is that fearful racket? Well, that is only the lawn mower. I will fetch some of the grass clippings presently to make your bed. I am sure you had better settle in the country, Johnny. We shall see by Tuesday week. The basket is stopped while they are at the seaside. I am sure you will never want to live in town again, said Timmy Willie. But he did. He went back to the very next basket of vegetables. He said it was too quiet. One place suits one person. Another place suits another person. For my part, I prefer to live in the country like Timmy Willie. What a cute book that was. I think I like to live in between the city and the country. Not too city and not too country, just a little bit in the middle. That's what I think. All right, let's go to the next book, shall we? All right, the next book is called The Tale of Mrs. Tittlemouse and is written by Beatrix Potter and illustrated by Wendy Rasmussen. Once upon a time, don't you just love stories that start with once upon a time? I think all stories should start with once upon a time. I just love that. Okay, where was I? Oh, excuse me. I got a little cold. Sniffle a little bit. All right, let's see. Once upon a time, there was a wood mouse, and her name was Mrs. Tittlemouse. She lived in a bank under a hedge. Such a funny house. There were yards and yards of sandy passages, leading to storerooms and nut cellars and seed cellars, all among the roots of the hedge. I couldn't say that word. It's okay to make mistakes. That's all right. There was a kitchen, a parlor, a pantry, and a larder. I don't know what a larder is. I have to look that one up. Also, there was Mrs. Tittlemouse's bedroom, where she slept in a little box bed. Mrs. Tittlemouse was a most terrible tidy, particular little mouse, always sweeping and dusting the soft sandy floors. Sometimes a beetle lost its way in the passages. Shh, little dirty feet, she said Mrs. Tittlemouse, clattering her dustpan. And one day a little old woman ran up and down in a red spotty coat. Your house is on fire, Mother Ladybird. Fly away home to your children. Another day, a big fat spider came in to shelter from the rain. Beg pardon, is this not Miss Muffet's? Go away, you bold bad spider, leaving ends of cobweb all over my nice clean house. She bundled the spider out of the window. He let himself down the hedge with a long, thin bit of string. Mrs. Tittlemouse went on her way to a distant storeroom to fetch cherry stones and thistledown seed for dinner. All along the passage she sniffed and looked at the floor. I smell a smell of honey. Is it the cowslips outside in the hedge? I'm sure I can see the marks of little dirty feet. Suddenly, around the corner, she met Babbity Bumble. Bzz, 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 said the bumblebee. Mrs. Tittlemouse looked at her severely. She wished that she had a broom. Good day, Babbity Bumble. I should be glad to buy some beeswax. But what are you doing down here? Why do you always come in at a window and say bzz, bzz, bzz? Mrs. Tittlemouse began to get cross. Bzz, 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 replied Babbity Bumble in an irritable squeak. She moved sideways down a passage and disappeared into a storeroom, which had been used for acorns. Mrs. Tittlemouse had eaten the acorns before Christmas. The storeroom ought to have been empty, but it was full of untidy, dry moss. Mrs. Tittlemouse began to pull out the moss. 3 or 4 other bees put their heads out and buzzed fiercely. I am not in the habit of letting lodgings. This is an intrusion, said Mrs. Tittlemouse. I will have them turned out. Bzz, bzz, bzz. I wonder who would help me. Bzz, 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 bzz. I will not have Mr. Jackson. He never wipes his feet. Mrs. Tittlemouse decided to leave the bees till after dinner. When she got back to the parlor, she heard someone coughing in a fat voice, and there sat Mr. Jackson himself. He was sitting all over a small rocking chair, twiddling his thumbs and smiling, with his feet on the railing. He lived in a drain below the hedge, in a very dirty, wet ditch. How do you do, Mr. Jackson? Dearie me, you have gotten very wet. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mrs. Tittlemouse. I'll sit a while and dry myself, said Mr. Jackson. He sat and smiled, and the water dripped off his coat tails. Mrs. Tittlemouse went around with a mop. He sat such a while that he had to be asked if he would take some dinner. First she offered him cherry stones. "Thank you, thank you, Mrs. Tittlemouse. No teeth, no teeth, no teeth," said Mr. Jackson. He opened his mouth most unnecessarily wide. He certainly had not a tooth in his head. Then she offered him thistledown seed. "Tiddly, widdly, widdly, poof, poof, puff," said Mr. Jackson. He blew the thistledown all over the room. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mrs. Tittlemouse. Now what I really, really should like would be a little dish of honey." "I am afraid I have not got any, Mr. Jackson," said Mrs. Tittlemouse. "Tiddly, widdly, widdly, Mrs. Tittlemouse," said the smiling Mr. Jackson. "I can smell it. That is why I came to call." Mr. Jackson rose clumsily from the table and began to look into the cupboards. Mrs. Tittlemouse followed him with the dishcloth to wipe his large, wet footmarks off the parlor floor. When he had convinced himself that there was no honey in the cupboards, he began to walk down the passage. "Indeed, indeed, you will stick fast, Mr. Jackson." "Tiddly, widdly, widdly, Mrs. Tittlemouse." First he squeezed into the pantry. "Tiddly, widdly, widdly, no honey? No honey, Mrs. Tittlemouse?" There were 3 creepy, crawly people hiding in the plate rack. 2 of them got away, but the littlest one he caught. Then he squeezed into the larder. Miss Butterfly was tasting the sugar, but she flew away out of the window. "Tiddly, widdly, widdly, Mrs. Tittlemouse, you seem to have plenty of visitors." "And without any invitation," said Mrs. Thomasina Tittlemouse. They went along the sandy passage. "Tiddly, widdly, he met Babbity round the corner, snapped her up, and put her down again. "I do not like bumblebees. They are all over bristles," said Mr. Jackson, wiping his mouth with his coat sleeve. "Get out, you nasty old toad!" shrieked Babbity Bumble. "I shall go." "I shall go distracted," scolded Mrs. Tittlemouse. Got the wrong voice there. It's okay. It's okay. She shut herself up in the nut cellar while Mr. Jackson pulled out the bee's nest. He seemed to have no objection to stings. When Mrs. Tittlemouse ventured to come out, everybody had gone away, but the untidiness was something dreadful. Never did I see such a mess. Smears of honey, moss, and thistledown, and marks of big and little dirty feet all over my nice clean house. She gathered up the moss and the remains of the beeswax. Then she went out and fetched some twigs to partly close up the front door. "I will make it too small for Mr. Jackson." She fetched soft soap, a soft cloth, and a new scrubbing brush from the storeroom, but she was too tired to do any more. First she fell asleep in her chair, and then she went to bed. "Will it ever be tidy again?" said poor Mrs. Tittlemouse. Next morning she got up very early and began a spring clean that lasted for 2 weeks. She swept, scrubbed, and dusted, and she rubbed up the furniture with beeswax and polished her little tin spoons. When it was all beautifully neat and clean, she gave a party to 5 other little mice without Mr. Jackson. He smelled the party and came up the bank, but he could not squeeze in at the door. So they handed him out acorn cupfuls of honeydew through the window, and he was not at all offended. He sat outside in the sun and said, "Tiddly widdly widdly, your very good health, Mrs. Tittlemouse." Well, that was nice. He really wanted some honey, didn't he? Oh, she really likes to keep things clean. I do too sometimes, but sometimes I get messy. That's all right. You can get a little messy sometimes, as long as you clean up after yourself, right? Okay. Well, let's see here. All right, for our last book, it's called The Tale of the Flopsy Bunnies. And of course, it's written by Beatrix Potter and illustrated by Wendy Rasmussen. I think those two probably did all these books together, I would imagine. I bet you there's a bunch more out there somewhere, but I only got the 3. I think 3 is good for now. I suppose if you wanted to read more, they're probably at your local libraries, and you can buy them online and all that good stuff. All right, here we go. It is said that the effect of eating too much lettuce causes sleepiness. I have never felt sleepy after eating lettuces, but then I am not a rabbit. They certainly had the effect of making the Flopsy Bunnies very sleepy. When Benjamin Bunny grew up, he married his cousin Flopsy. They had a large family, and they were very careful and cheerful. I do not remember the separate names of their children. They were generally called the Flopsy Bunnies. As there was not always quite enough to eat, Benjamin used to borrow cabbages from Flopsy's brother, Peter Rabbit, who kept a nursery garden. Sometimes Peter Rabbit had no cabbages to spare. When this happened, the Flopsy Bunnies went across the field to the garbage heap in the ditch outside Mr. McGregor's garden. Mr. McGregor's rubbish heap was a mixture. There were jam pots and paper bags and mountains of chopped grass from the mowing machine, which always tasted oily, and some rotten summer squashes and an old boot or two. One day, oh joy, there was a quantity of overgrown lettuces which had shot into flower. The Flopsy Bunnies simply stuffed lettuces by degrees, one after another. They were overcome with sleep and lay down in the mown grass. Benjamin was not so much overcome as his children. Before going to sleep, he was sufficiently wide awake to put a paper bag over his head to keep off the flies. The little Flopsy Bunnies slept delightfully in the warm sun. From the lawn beyond the garden came the distant clackety sound of the mowing machine. The bright blue blowflies buzzed about the wall, and a little old mouse picked over the rubbish among the jam pots. I can tell you her name. She was called Thomasina Tittlemouse, a wood mouse with a long tail. Hey, she was just in this book we just read. How about that? That's cool. She rustled across the paper bag and awakened Benjamin Bunny. The mouse apologized profusely and said that she knew Peter Rabbit. While she and Benjamin were talking close under the wall, they heard heavy footsteps above their heads. Then suddenly Mr. McGregor emptied out a sack full of lawn mowings right upon the top of the sleeping Flopsy Bunnies. Benjamin shrank down under his paper bag. The mouse hid in a jam pot. The little rabbits smiled sweetly in their sleep under the shower of grass. They did not awake because the lettuces had been so soporific. They dreamed that their mother Flopsy was tucking them up in a hay bed. Mr. McGregor looked down after emptying his sack. He saw some funny little brown tips of ears sticking up through the lawn mowings. He stared at them for some time. Presently a fly settled on one of them, and it moved. Mr. McGregor climbed down onto the rubbish heap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said he, as he dropped them into his sack. The Flopsy bunnies dreamed that their mother was turning them over in bed. They stirred a little in their sleep, but still did not wake up. Mr. McGregor tied up the sack and left it on the wall. He went to put away the mowing machine. While he was gone, Mrs. Flopsy Bunny, who had remained at home, came across the field. She looked suspiciously at the sack and wondered where everybody was. Then the mouse came out of her jam pot, and Benjamin took the paper bag off his head, and they told the sad tale. Benjamin and Flopsy were in despair. They could not undo the string, but Mrs. Tittlemouse was a resourceful person. She nibbled a hole in the bottom corner of the sack. The little rabbits were pulled out and pinched to wake them. Their parents stuffed the empty sack with 3 rotten summer squashes, an old stove polishing brush, and 2 decayed turnips. Then they all hid under a bush and watched for Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor came back, picked up the sack, and carried it off. Oh, he thinks the rabbits are still in there. The bunnies. He carried it hanging down as if it were rather heavy. The Flopsy bunnies followed at a safe distance. They watched him go into his house, and then they crept up to the window to listen. Mr. McGregor threw down the sack on the stone floor in a way that would have been extremely painful to the Flopsy bunnies if they had happened to have been inside it. They could hear him drag his chair on the paving stones and chuckle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said Mr. McGregor. What's that? What have they been spoiling now? Inquired Mrs. McGregor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little fat rabbits, repeated Mr. McGregor, counting on his fingers. 1, 2, 3. Don't you be silly. What do you mean, you silly old man? In the sack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, replied Mr. McGregor. The youngest Flopsy bunny got upon the windowsill. Mrs. McGregor took hold of the sack and felt it. She said she could feel 6, but they must be old rabbits because they were so hard and all different shapes. Not fit to eat, but the skins will do fine to line my old coat. Line your old coat? Shouted Mr. McGregor. I shall sell them and buy myself bucky. Rabbit tobacco? I shall skin them to cut off their heads. Mrs. McGregor untied the sack and put her hand inside. When she felt the vegetables, she became very, very angry. She said that Mr. McGregor had done it on purpose. Then Mr. McGregor was very angry too. One of the rotten marrows came flying through the kitchen window and hit the youngest Flopsy bunny. It was rather hurt. Then Benjamin Flopsy thought that it was time to go. So Mr. McGregor did not get his tobacco, and Mrs. McGregor did not get her rabbit skins. But next Christmas, Thomasina Tittlemouse got a present of enough rabbit wool to make herself a cloak and a hood and a handsome muff and a pair of warm mittens. That's so nice. Oh, I didn't realize that Mr. McGregor was going to eat the bunnies or take their skins. That's horrible. Oh my goodness. Well, what did you think of that story? I thought it was pretty good. It was a little scary. I think of the three stories, I like that one the best. Yeah. Phew. That was scary. I was afraid for the bunnies. I thought Mr. McGregor was going to, put them in the bag and put them up on the fence to keep them safe while he mowed and then probably let them go. But he was not going to let them go. Oh my goodness. That was terrible. But it's a happy ending, except for the one little rabbit. But he's probably okay. Well, thank you for coming to story time. And I look forward to reading you another story on another day so you can go to sleep. Sleep is very important. Okay. All right. Bye bye.